I was blown away by this. It sounds like an Eat Your Vegetables movie, but it is urgent.
It's been a minute since we've had a new movie from Kathryn Bigelow, but man, she is still at the top of her game with the nuclear thriller, I guess we'll call it, A House of Dynamite, coming soon to Netflix. But, you know, see it in the theater if you get to see it in the theater, because you should see it in the theater.
Absolutely. It's in theaters this weekend. There are many, many movies coming out this weekend, and I would put this high on your list as you are prioritizing, because I think it's one of the best movies of the year. It's in theaters this weekend. It's going to be on Netflix on October 24th. So this is a non-spoiler review because things happen that you should experience for yourself. So we're going to try our best to tell you how great this is without ruining all of that for you.
If we do not take steps to neutralize our enemies now, we will lose our window to do so.
It all takes place over the course of really just a couple of hours.
Yeah,
you know,
a morning.
Looking back on it, one morning in Washington, D.C. and in Alaska and a few other places. What we know is that some country, we don't know who, apparently has launched a nuclear strike against us. And it is what happens in the ensuing minutes to have everyone scramble into place and do their checks and communicate with each other and what is the protocol. And so you see it all through the first time from the perspective of Rebecca Ferguson's character, who is in the Situation Room. And we know that the folks in Alaska have seen this and tried to intercept it. Anthony Ramos is among the people working there. Basically, it's like a big, sprawling 70s disaster movie, but it's deadly serious, with impeccable production values and a deadly serious tone. But I say that in that this is a giant, sprawling cast, and each new scene is like, ooh, there's Tracy Letts, or ooh, there's Renee Elise Goldsberry, or whoever it is. Ooh, I don't want to ruin some of the people who are in this, but it's just an incredible cast. And so it's how they run their traps and communicate with each other, and it brings us through what we perceive to be possible retaliation.
Right.
And then we run it back. And then we run it back. And so it's kind of Rashomon structured, and little bits of dialogue and little peripheral characters who we kind of glimpse of and didn't really understand. Like, that becomes clearer and it has more meaning with each telling. And so you think you know what someone's role is the first time through, and then the second time through you realize, oh, okay, this is what's going on with this person. Gabriel Basso, for example, has more a role in the second telling of it, and he is the Deputy National Security Advisor. He was also J.D. Vance in Hillbilly Elegy, which is entertaining.
Coincidence?
Right. And so the upshot of all of this with this incredible cast is that we are totally screwed if this happens to us now, right? Like, these are people who are competent and sober and smart and care deeply about this country and really, really know what they are doing. And yet it is just breathtakingly tense within the chaos of it. Like, people trying to communicate, people trying to do the right thing. And even still, like, you don't know what is going to happen. And that is the point. I was blown away by this. It sounds like an Eat Your Vegetables movie, but it is urgent.
Yeah, no, there are two levels going on in terms of the tension. One is just what's actually unfolding before us, and the what do we know, what do we not know, how do we respond based on what we do and don't know? Do we trust what people are telling us? Do we trust what, the data is showing, all of that stuff? And then the other level of tension is, holy shit, if this were happening in real life, Pete Hegseth would be on the call. And that's just terrifying. And that is, I think, implicit in all of this. And I think that's why the guy who played J.D. Vance in Hillbilly Elegy is in this movie. It does have some sense of the all-star 70s disaster film, but I think it also harkens to the 60s nuclear nightmare movie, whether like Failsafe or 7 Days in May. Obviously, Dr. Strangelove is the more sort of, outrageously comedic version of that, but nonetheless committed to the bottom line of like, we are fucked, and that's still very much the case here. And at some point, the president is given this sort of list of scenarios, and you understand that he travels with this book of scenarios, and that none of them are great. We're either going to nuke somebody or we're not going to nuke anybody. And then what does that mean? Like, does that mean that we're weak? Does that mean that people think they can do whatever they want? Like, none of the choices are great. And you have to sort of have these other technological solutions and diplomatic solutions and all these other things in place so that we don't get to this particular point. And children are running the show right now, mentally speaking. And so this is the unspoken terror of this movie. I was on the edge of my seat. I was holding my breath. It was riveting. This is the second movie this year, and I'm blanking on the first one now, where the editing style reminds me of Sidney Lumet's Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, where we see something unfold, and then we go back and we see it again, and we learn even more that makes it even richer and like more terrifying. The performances are great. I don't know why Bigelow is casting so many British people as Americans. I mean, the Secretary of Defense is Jared Harris, and he's great. Don't get me wrong. They've all got terrific accents, but after a while, they just start stacking up. You're like, could we not have gotten more I don't know. It's just one of those things that happens in movies.
Jonah Hauer-King has the nuclear football.
Yes. Tracy Letts gets a monologue in this movie that is it is his, if they're shooting for an award for him, that is his for your consideration clip.
Totally.
That monologue is so good and has so much to say about the situation that's being portrayed here, the larger idea of geopolitics and nuclear gamesmanship. It is top flight work, Mr. Letts. I was impressed. Yeah, I was into this from start to finish.
We should mention the editors, Kirk Baxter, two-time Oscar winner Kirk Baxter, who usually works with David Fincher. Barry Ackroyd, who also shot The Hurt Locker for Kathryn Bigelow, is a cinematographer, it's really varied because it's a lot of intimate and kind of bland spaces, whether it's, where all the generals are, or where it was the Situation Room, or various halls and bunkers and things. But also it's got to be big picture as far as what is happening out in the world. So it's all of that at once. Written by Noah Oppenheim. And you just get this feeling, which is always the case with Kathryn Bigelow films, that it is so sturdy and so smart and so well researched. It just feels really substantial and just feels like serious people took this seriously. And so we need to as well. Yeah.
Great double feature with War Games.
I was going to say War Games reminded me a lot of this too. No one plays tic-tac-toe at the end of this though. But it is really a situation where there are no good answers. People do the best they can and there are no good answers. And so this is a good movie to see with people and have a conversation afterward as far as, what would you do? What would we do in this situation? What do you think should have happened? I'm trying to talk around it, but I think it's a good talker to see with people, especially at this moment in time. Yeah.
Human beings are flawed. Systems are flawed. And, I think no one talks about nukes anymore. Like when we were younger, that was the whole thing, the day
Cold
after,
War.
or what was the day after, the day it came on television, we're in the midst of the Cold War. Like it was constantly this idea of these face-offs with the Soviets, and then we've just at some point decided, that's a 20th century thing. We don't really do that anymore, but we still stockpile all these weapons and countries are still trying to get into the nuclear club. And it's a thing that exists and that we have to face as, players on the world stage. And so I'm glad that this movie is sort of reminding people this didn't go away. This is still a thing we have to be, concerned with and look for some real answers so that we don't all wind up, as a big heap of ash.
Yeah. And the script does a great job of developing several of these characters just enough. So it's not just like they're cogs. It's people that you care about and just enough backstory about them to know why this matters, why this choice matters, what they have at stake. There is a character who works for FEMA. She's wearing a polo shirt that says FEMA on the chest. And I'm so happy that somebody still works for FEMA in this world. This gives me hope. Weirdly, it's supposed to be a warning call, this movie, but it kind of also gave me hope. Look what people could do if they were smart in these positions. I have hope that this is what our life will be like again.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. So I'm going to say like a 9.5. This is definitely one of my favorite movies of the year.
Yeah, I'm right up there with you. I'll say a 9.3, but definitely a contender for best of 2025. And again, like it's got a score from the guy that did Conclave, so you want to see this in the theater and feel it in your bowels. You want that bass just like going through your body.
Yeah, it's tense. So check it out.